Alice Njuguna. I work at Zetech as a DVC in charge of research, extension, and other related affairs. I was given a topic about funding university education. And I should know something about funding university education. I was a student for 23 years of my life. And I have worked in private institutions for the last 18 years, both as a lecturer and as a manager. And I should also know something about running schools. I can see my sister seated somewhere, she knows where she is. Running a private school, and sometimes I can tell what she goes through. One of the most painful things I think about is cases where I have heard that kids go up to class 6 in a private school, in a private primary school. Then in class 7, they are transferred up country. Why does that happen? So that they can join a good public school. Why can't they join your schools, your private schools? Our kids are going to private schools, but when they finish, all we want them to do is to join a public university. Nairobi University, the Kenyatta University, Daktari will forgive me. Why is that so? What is it that we are not doing right? Why aren't our kids transiting from private primary schools to private secondary schools? Why aren't they transiting from private secondary schools to private universities? And do you know something about the numbers in our universities? We have 31 public universities and 4 constituent colleges. 31 public universities and 4 constituent colleges. How many private universities do we have in Kenya? Do you know we have 31 private universities and 5 constituent colleges? So actually the private beats the publics. Of course, when they list them and show the different levels of accreditation. But you can see we have a good number of private schools. We don't know that. So we don't take the children to join the private schools for one reason or the other. And children are very impressionable. A story is told of a young man who went to visit his uncle. And you know, when we were young, visiting your uncle was a very big deal. When he went to visit his uncle and he reached the home, he was served a plate full of flies, nzi. And he said, I don't eat this. So, being a modern kid, they brought him sausages. Then they brought him pizza. And they brought him all those nice things that kids actually like. And he ate. Then he went back home. And he was asked by the mom, oh, so how was it at Uncle's place? It was very good. What happened? They first of all fed me flies. Then they gave me pizza. His father came home in the evening and asked him, what happened at your uncle's place? They first of all gave me house flies. Then they gave me pizza. What stuck to that kid's mind? House flies. Probably some of the way we treat our children and the way we treat what we tell our children sticks to their minds. When we are pushing them to do very well in primary school so that they can join Alliance, which is a public school, we are telling them the private are not good enough. And my colleagues have said here, private institutions are good. You know them. You run them. Your children go there. You are here to market them, and I want to thank Elimu TV for all this. You are here to market them. Would it be a bad product? Probably not. So there's always a public-private debate. And I always ask people that I meet, do we have public and private institutions, or do we have private and public students? To me, we have institutions. We do not have private students. And therefore, private institutions have fought a very big battle, trying to say, we want students to be funded to join private institutions. Reason, because we are also taxpayers. Just like the teachers in secondary school and in private secondary and primary schools have been fighting to say, can our children join public universities? Can they be funded? And the battle has finally been won. And that's one of the milestones we are celebrating. Do you know that university education can be very expensive sometimes? It costs about 150,000 to almost 800,000 to take a child through 1 year of university education, which is a lot of money. If you are charging a fee of 50 or 30 or 60,000 shillings a semester, that gives you about less than 200,000, and your parents are struggling. Do you know how much they struggle when they join the university? They really do. That's why you're telling them, work very hard so that you can go to Kenyatta and get a loan and get funded. You're telling them, work so hard so that you can go to University of Nairobi and get a loan. But have we ever asked ourselves, how else is university education funded? Globally, university education is funded in 3 ways. The parents fund. You go back to your pocket and pay the 200 or the 300,000 a year. That's what we're scared of. The second way, the state funds through taxpayers' money. There are some of us seated here who I can see are still paying their loans for the university education that they went through. The state funds, partially. Thirdly, the student pays for themselves because they will finally have to pay back the money to the institution, to the government. Historically, what we know is when the student went to the university, was given a loan and had to pay it back. So we are still remembering those flies that we were fed those early years. But currently, do you know that there is a shift in the Education Act? From the Universities Act of 2012, there is a shift. There are 2 major funding institutions that are funding university education. One of them is the traditional higher education loans board, where students get 35,000 to 60,000 shillings a year, which they're supposed to use to buy books, and used to pay a little bit of tuition, and pay for their accommodation. And that money is given as a loan, which they then pay back at the end of their training. But do you know that 35 to 60,000 shillings a year will not take your child through any private institution? It's not possible. So you still have to go back to your pockets to top them up. So in 2012, the government was kind enough to start what we call the University Funding Board, the UFB, that now funds students differently. And currently, students are getting 70,000 shillings a year. That doesn't go to the student, it goes straight to the university. Money is following the students. And this money is not payable. It is your taxpayers' money that goes to actually fund those universities. Out of those 2 funding bodies, the HELB and the University Funding Board, do you know that students from private universities are eligible, just like everybody else? Have you told your students that they can actually join a public university and get the HELB loan and get the Universities Funding Board loan, especially if they are sponsored through the Kenya Universities Placement Board? And I suspect that that is the information that is lacking. Our students don't know that. They always sometimes think, if I join a private university, I have to go to Zetech or Strathmore or any other institution or Catholic university to get the money, which is not true. You can join any university. You can join any private university. Effective this year, the Ministry of Education placed students in all the universities. And I should know, because Zetech is a beneficiary. We've got over 600 students. So I suspect I am teaching students from your schools, and I can tell you they are good. When they sit in class, they are good. They have been trained well, they have quality education, they are independent, and they are able to carry themselves well, contrary to what is sometimes told to us. Do you also know that in addition to the HELB loan and the Universities Funding Board, HELB also provides bursaries to needy students? My biggest problem is that students from private universities do not like accessing the HELB loan. Neither do they like admitting that they require the bursaries. It is up to us to know what we are telling them. Tell them, when you apply for the HELB loan, please indicate if you are needy, and you will be given a bursary to actually take you through buying your food, buying your clothing, because some of those cases can be very pathetic, and taking you through life. And do you know that studying in a private university also allows some of those students to earn their own money through what we call work-study programs? A student joins us, the HELB loan of 35,000 shillings in a year may not be sufficient to actually help you to pay for food, accommodation, and all that. Private universities, like the one I work for, allow you to work as you study. You can work in the library, you can work in the records office, or any other place. You earn your little money to be able to make you survive. And you have heard that when students go abroad to the US and other countries, they end up cleaning toilets and cooking, and we don't like that, right? In Kenya, we have work study, but of a more dignified manner. We actually make them try to learn some of the skills that they will need to use in real life. So what am I saying? The Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Our students are not transiting well because we do not sit in such forums to talk about how to transit from primary to secondary in a private setting. We don't tell them the advantages of transiting from secondary to a private institution. We don't give them all that data because even ourselves sometimes we do not know. So it is up to us. Just like the primary and the private schools have KEPSA, the private universities have a body that we call KAPU, Kenya Association of Private Universities. And we are telling people, right now everybody knows the public lecturers are on strike. And maybe that's why Dr. was able to come here today. The ones in private schools, where are they? Like now I'm running back my lecture. They are learning. And they are getting the same money as their public counterparts. And do you know that the Universities Funding Board has now said that they are running what you're calling a differentiated unit cost. Universities that teach sciences, if a student is doing medicine or engineering and the likes, the universities will get much more money than the ones that are teaching social sciences. And that allows you to actually preach STEM to the students that you are teaching, encourage them to take up mathematics and technology and other sciences because they will be able to access the same education in a good quality institution. So as I wind up, I want to ask us to be ambassadors. Someone was talking about the situation in a staff room in a private school. I have a different experience with my children. When I try to correct my kids, they always tell me, teacher said. If teacher is so right, that they are to be followed. If teacher said you will move from a private primary to a private secondary, what will happen? The kid will say, I want to move to a private secondary school. If a secondary school teacher says there are good private universities, the kid will say, I want to join a good private university. I want to go to Zetech. I want to go to Catholic. I want to go to Nazarene. I want to go to USIU because the resources are good, there is quality education, and I will be funded by the government, and mothers and fathers' tax will not go to waste. So I am sending you out as our ambassadors for ourselves as a private sector. When you are teaching, you are a God, G-O-D. And I am not blaspheming, I'm talking about God with a small g. You are the guru on duty. So go ye and preach the word that students can actually transit through the university education as private students, but partially funded by the government, just like any other public child. So thank you very much, and I wish you well in your conference.
Wow, my goodness. Have you, what we COVID for that? Give a very big hand again. Wow, I like your energy. My. Have you seen her energy? If you have such a lady for marketing, you will have, you'll have gotten more than you had bargained for.